So which property should you buy? A flat or a house? My name is Glenn, I'm a property investor and a qualified mortgage broker. My channel covers everything to do with property and finance, and if you'd like to be a part of the community and you think this is something that you'd be interested in, then it'd be great if you can click the subscribe button and the notification bell for all weekly videos. Now, in my profession, I get asked all the time from people looking for their first home or even property investors, should I buy a flat or a house? Now, if you watch through to the end of the video, I'm going to cover off all the pros and cons of flats and pros and cons of houses. Hopefully this will help you decide which one you feel might be right for you. So let's look at the positives of flats. Now, generally, flats are cheaper than houses. So this could be great if you're a first-time buyer and you maybe have a lower deposit because the properties are generally cheaper. Again, this goes hand in hand if you're a property investor, and flats generally give you a good return on investment or yield. So they can be very appealing for people that are starting out on their own or even investors looking to get onto the property investment ladder. Now, even though this is very appealing, you need to be aware of the negative sides of purchasing flats as well. Now, one of the big things is mortgage lending. Some lenders only lend a certain percentage on a flat, whereas they would lend potentially more if it was a house. Also, most flats are leasehold. This means that you own the actual property, but you do not own the land it sits on. That is owned by the freeholder. I will do another video to cover this off in more detail. Also, with flats, there is a time limit, so they have a lease period. Generally, this can be around 125 years to 999. It really depends on what the freeholder agreed when they took on the property. Now, this is fine. However, if you go to buy an older flat, and if the remaining lease is under 80 years, then some mortgage lenders do not lend on that. So that's why if you are looking to buy a flat, you should always speak to the estate agent, find out more details about the lease, and then speak to a mortgage specialist to make sure that you can actually get the mortgage you need on that property. Also, with flats, they generally just have one single footprint. So it's hard to add value to a flat because you can't really do an extension like you can with a house. You can't put a conservatory on a flat. So generally it's cosmetic work that could maybe improve the value. Another big thing to be aware of with flats is that they generally have charges that come along with them. So this is expenses such as ground rent and service charges. Now, ground rent is because you don't own the land your flat sits on. So you're paying the managing agent that fee. This is generally an annual payment, so you can pay it monthly or annually as a lump sum. Also, you generally have service charges, which means this is another cost. And again, this is for the managing agent looking after the flats to make sure things like the windows are cleaned or the garden areas are maintained. This is generally something that you have to pay. So factor all these costs in with your mortgage. So pros with flats are generally cheaper and good yield and return on investment. The negatives are you can't really do much to the property and they come with extra charges such as ground rent and service charges, which a freehold property doesn't. Just before I go into the pros and cons of buying a house, if you're enjoying the video, if you could click the like button, that'd be great. It really helps the channel grow. Okay, so pros and cons of buying a house. So the pros are you own the land. So you are the freeholder as long as the property you're buying is freehold. Make sure you ask that question from the start. Also, houses can really go up in value over time, and you can do things like extensions, house renovations, and even a lot of cosmetic work that can really put the property price up quite quickly. Now, this is great if you're getting onto the property ladder and you can afford to buy a house, then you've already jumped one step and you're ahead of the game. But it just means you need to generally pay more for that house up front. If you're a property investor, it is also good to go for a house because again, you own the freehold. Again, you could potentially renovate the property, which means you could get a higher rental income. And with houses, you can have a bigger family move in, which means you may get a longer tenancy, which means more money regularly for you as an investor. Houses generally go up quicker than flats over time as well, dependent on the area that you're buying in. And there are no service charges or ground rent generally with majority of houses, so that's a cost that you haven't got to find. Okay, so negatives of buying a house. Firstly, it's generally going to cost you more money in deposits and legal fees and stamp duty than if you was to buy a flat. There generally is a greater demand on the market for people buying the same house that you're looking at. However, again, it depends on the area that you're looking at and the type of property that you want. Again, another obvious thing is a house is generally bigger than a flat, so a bigger property could come with bigger problems. So this could mean bigger renovation costs, and long term you could be investing more money to keep it maintained. Also, when you buy a house and if you're looking to renovate it yourself, whether it's your home or an investment, you need to factor in things like planning permission from local councils. So really you need to make sure that if that's something that you are looking to do with your house, you've got a good chance of actually getting that approved. So buying a flat or a house is really down to you, your lifestyle and what your preference is. However, dependent on the area that you're buying in and what your ultimate goal is as a buyer, in my opinion, houses are my preference. Don't get me wrong, I've owned a flat in the past and it done very, very well for me. However, my preference is always to buy a house if you can. Now, if you're still watching, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope this gives you some food for thought on whether you want to purchase a flat or a house for your own home or an investment. And if you want me to do more videos like this in the future, don't forget to comment below. I love to hear your comments and your thoughts, and click the subscribe button for more weekly videos. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.